Let's get into our match of the weekend segment for everyone. What we've been doing is we've been highlighting some matches that we're going to be keeping an eye on during Challenge Cup. And for this weekend, we've chosen a couple of different matches for a couple different reasons. So let's start with this first one. We're taking a look and keeping a close eye on the West region division of Challenge Cup. San Diego Wave versus Portland Thorns FC. Lisa, why is this our match of the weekend? Why do you think people should be tuning into the match this weekend?
So this match between San Diego Wave and Portland Thorns is match of the weekend because this is our first look at the expansion side, San Diego Wave FC, against not just another team in the NWSL, but a powerhouse in Portland Thorns, a team that has historically done very, very well in the league. It's a chance for Rain Wilkinson, head coach of Portland Thorns, to kind of show what she's been working on this last week, what they've taken from their match against OL Reign, Portland, and now that they can impose on San Diego. And we chose San Diego versus Portland versus Angel City versus OL Reign because I think San Diego has a better chance of competing with Portland than OL Reign or than Angel City does with OL Reign.
Okay.
In my defense, because the personnel that San Diego has, I think we'll see a stronger starting 11 from them than comparative to what they played against Angel City last week. There was players with limited minutes in Abby Dahlkemper and Alex Morgan. And I think that they will just be a stronger threat against Portland. I'm also excited to see how the back line of San Diego Wave handles Christine Sinclair, Sophia Smith, those attacking weapons that Portland has. It's also the 3-5-3 that Portland was playing against San Diego's lineup of a 4-5-1, almost a 4-3-3 technically. So that's what I'm excited about because formationally, it's going to expose more holes for San Diego in how they can match up against a team like Portland. So this is hands down the match of the weekend for me. There's certain player personnel that I'm interested in seeing how the rookies on San Diego Wave on the expansion side, Kelsey Turnbow, Naomi Girma, they match up against Portland and handle some of their players because I think the matchup between Sophia Smith and Naomi Girma is going to be a good one to watch. Sometimes we talk about like our 1v1 battles. I think that's a pretty good 1v1 battle that is going to expose the weakness of the opponent. So I think Sophia Smith will expose some things about Girma that we don't know yet. And I think Girma is also going to force Sophia Smith to try some different things, not be stuck in the same creative attacking ways, but try different tactics and different things. This is for sure it. What are you looking at between San Diego and Portland?
Listen, it sounds like you're making some good cases here for both teams, but it sounds like your pick, if you're making a pick, is going for San Diego Wave FC, and I like that. I also really like you bringing up Girma versus Smith, a little Stanford versus Stanford action going on there with these two. That could be an individual matchup, a 1v1 that we can maybe take a look at, take a deeper dive in the recap when we rejoin everybody on Sunday. So something to keep lingering in the back of our heads. But I'm not too sure if there's going to be a winner or a loser in this one. It's something that's really making me keep my eyes locked in on this West division is the fact that all four of these teams walked away with their opening weekend match with a draw. And they were draws where there were 1-1 score lines, right? So teams that were able to go ahead and find an equalizer or get on the board in some capacity, but also kind of suffer from a little bit of a mistake, right? I think when you're bringing up somebody like a Naomi Girma, I'm thinking about that goal, that opening goal that happened in Angel City, right? Just sort of this wide open space, right, for Savannah McCaskill to just sort of execute on this very lofty cross into the box. So I'm sure that that's something that they're still thinking about, something that they want to tighten up. I really do want to see the sort of week to week development, right, of some of these rookies going on. So I am going to be keeping an eye on Naomi Girma for sure. I'm going to still be keeping an eye on maybe the midfield as well for both of these teams. I like that you brought that up. There was some end-to-end end action going in that California clash, right? And there was a lot of running and through the middle and no midfield vibes, quite frankly,
No.
going on through that match. So I'm a little curious to see what this matchup looks like with the Wave and the Thorns, because the Thorns have had some complications or some glitches kind of thrown into their midfield as well. Like we're doing this live right ahead of having any availability reports or injury reports, at our to be able to look at and say like, this is how it's maybe going to look. So just going off of last weekend, having somebody like a Rocky Rodriguez unavailable with an ankle issue for the Thorns, I think you could sort of see some of the holes, right? A player who can come in and sort of calm things down a little bit while still connecting with that attacking line. If she's available in any capacity to be able to have an impact for the Thorns, I might actually give the edge a little bit to the Thorns, but I think this actually might end in a draw.
So I love that you think it's going to be a draw. First of all, I am going to dove San Diego with this one. And of course, we don't have availability reports and injury reports yet. So I don't, this may change, but I'm going to give San Diego this win. But I love that you brought up the midfield, because in the California clash, there was no midfield for either side. As San Diego's midfield was non-existent. I'm going to stick with San Diego on this one. They didn't really have a midfield. They weren't controlling it. It was just get the ball from defensively to the forwards and see if the forwards can do something. Now, if Portland is missing some key players in their midfield, which against OL Reign controlled the midfield. Who in the midfield battle, specifically between Portland and San Diego, which team is going to control that area of the field?
Oh gosh. Again, I think I'm sticking with. No,
I
go
think
ahead.
it's going to be a big test for San Diego.
Yeah,
that's what I think. If they can hold their own against even Portland's unhealthy midfield. So say Rocky's not in there. Rocky Rodriguez isn't playing in this match. I think if San Diego can hold their own against Portland's midfield, it's going to be a promising year for San Diego.
I think the opening 15 minutes of this match is going to tell us right away what we're gonna see. I like it. We'll see if somebody in the West ends up sort of getting a hold on this regional division. And I think this is a good match to sort of see who that's going to be. Let's jump ahead to another match that we're going to be keeping our eye on. Our second match of the weekend. We're going to be taking a look at the East region on this one. We're going to be looking at North Carolina Courage versus Orlando Pride. When it comes to general standings in the Challenge Cup right now, North Carolina Courage are number one in the East. And if this was a larger table, they'd likely be number one in the general standing, so to speak, right? But they're going up against an Orlando Pride that I think maybe put some folks on notice a little bit, right? Holding the NWSL 2021 champions to a scoreless draw in that week one match. And we talked a little bit about it on the recap. We talked a little bit about it during our midweek segment, our news and notes segment, where we chatted about the physicality, right? Some of the choppiness that was coming into play on this match. So when we're looking at these two teams, Lisa, maybe you could speak a little bit to Orlando Pride specifically. Do you think we're going to see like this a week two, like that next step? Are we going to see something a little more in terms of tactics from this team? Or are we going to still continue to see a bit of choppy physical play from this Orlando Pride side?
I think we will still see choppy physical play. There's only been 6 days of training, 5 days of training. You think one of them is in the film room, they get an off day. And that's not enough to have cohesive play and have connections and rhythm within a team. Now, this is a big matchup because in North Carolina is only one of two teams that walked away with points last weekend. They're also the only team to record a win with a shutout. So defensively, they were sound, and offensively, they were able to get the ball in the back of the net, which, right, that's kind of the whole point of soccer. Can you score, and can you keep your opponents from scoring? And North Carolina is the only team to have done that successfully in the first week. Now, I was very pleasantly surprised with how Orlando played in the first week. I think they have a lot of good player personnel. I think Aaron McLeod in goal did a fantastic job. And when you watch the match last week, North Carolina against Gotham, North Carolina had so many chances on crosses and services into the box. And that's what they're really good at. Carson Pickett, Merritt Mathias, they're so good at sending those services into the box. And that's what makes them so dangerous. Now, against a team like Orlando Pride that has a pretty good defensive back line and Aaron McLeod in goal, I don't think that crosses are going to be an issue. It's almost like, sure, send in all the crosses you want against Orlando because McLeod is just going to grab them out of the air. She's going to own her box. She's going to be loud and vocal in that back line. So this is a huge matchup to me because looking at like our power rankings, North Carolina is number 1 right now. Orlando is also pretty high in this or in this as well. And this is a pretty large matchup. I don't think that it's going to end with a win. I think both teams are going to come out of this one with a draw. We might see scores. We might see 1-1, but I think it's going to be a draw between these two because what we've seen from Orlando Pride is that they can compete and they can play. So this is what I'm pretty excited about to see throughout this one.
Right on. I'm with you on that. I don't think that we're going to see this like giant leap from Orlando Pride when it comes to things tactically, right? I do think perhaps we could see a goal from them in this one.
Yeah.
North Carolina Courage and Orlando Pride are two teams that when they have gone head to head against each other in fixtures like this, like a Challenge Cup, or when they've had like preseason scrimmages against each other, or I think at one point in one preseason it was referred to as like the Friendship Cup at some point. They've played some really kind of closely contested matches, and Orlando Pride has been able to go up against some very stacked North Carolina teams and walk away with a result. So I don't know if we're going to see some like savvy, sophisticated soccer out of this Pride side, but I do think we're going to see some competitive soccer between these two teams.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of a pick, I think maybe because of the history between these two teams, maybe I should have saved my draw for this one, but I'm not going to do that. I think North Carolina Courage are going to be the team that ends up building on their week 1 performances. I like what we saw out of this Courage side. This is a team led by new head coach Sean Nahas talking about we're not using the word rebuild. We're doing a little bit of retooling, and we're still going to be a North Carolina Courage side that goes out there and tries to get the win. And I think we saw that in that first week. Seeing somebody like Debinya moved a little higher to goal, I mean, that's only going to benefit your team, right? When we're looking at a player like who was typically in that box-to-box midfield in the past, getting her in a more threatening position is only going to benefit a team like the Courage. And we're seeing that they can still make teams pay on set pieces. These are things that have been a part of this Courage side that have sort of been staples within their style of play, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm going to go with the Courage on this one. I think that they might really tighten their grip a little bit more in the East on this one. I don't know if it'll be a huge blowout win by any means, but I do think they'll be the ones walking away with the win.
Yeah, I could see that too because they have the momentum from last week and they've already done it. They've secured the 3 points. And I don't know. I'm still going with the draw on this one. I think players to watch out for, Michaela Clough, the rookie on Orlando Pride. We saw small moments of her greatness and being really good on the ball. And actually, as those 90 minutes went on, she became more confident with the ball at her feet, dribbling through defenders. And I think against a team like North Carolina, she could do that throughout the midfield. She could pick up the ball, turn, run at the back line and go for it. So I'm excited to watch Clough in this matchup, but I'm still going to give it a draw.
Right on. I like that we both want to draw up different ones for our match of the week.